In recent developments, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has reaffirmed Labour's commitment to creating a national environmental watchdog, even after a high-profile deal with the Greens fell apart during the final week of parliamentary negotiations. The Labour government's plans to establish two key agencies, a compliance-focused Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and an information agency for managing environmental data, have been postponed, with the Prime Minister emphasising that the government will uphold its principles when collaborating with crossbenchers. Negotiations between Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek and Greens Senator Sarah Hanson-Young reached an impasse after Albanese overruled the preliminary agreement. This decision followed consultations with Western Australian Premier Roger Cook, highlighting the influence of WA's mining and logging sectors on the matter. The Prime Minister confirmed on ABC's Insiders program that Labour intends to move forward with its environmental reforms, but only in line with its values. "We will stick to our values and not let external influences dictate our actions," he stated. The agreement between the Greens and the government included a framework for new national environmental standards and provisions tied to regional forest agreements. The Greens had even softened their stance by not insisting on an immediate end to native forest logging. Despite this, Albanese dismissed the deal, stating it lacked support. During a private meeting with Hanson-Young, Greens leader Adam Bandt, and Finance Minister Katie Gallagher, Albanese rejected the draft agreement, asserting, "There wasn't a letter from me, and no one in the Greens claims I agreed to it." He clarified that unresolved issues were set aside after discussions with crossbenchers and the coalition. The collapse of the deal has been attributed to industry lobbying, especially from WA's mining sector. Greens Senator Hanson-Young accused the government of yielding to the mining and logging lobbies, declaring, "The Prime Minister has once again been pressured by industry interests." WA Premier Roger Cook, who had previously met with Plibersek and key industry representatives, played a critical role in halting the reforms. Cook publicly acknowledged discussions with federal officials but refrained from disclosing details. Meanwhile, Albanese downplayed Cook's influence, asserting that the decision was purely about lacking the votes in the Senate to secure passage of the legislation. The government faced significant hurdles in the Senate. Despite the support of the Greens, Independent Senator David Pocock, and potentially Senator Lydia Thorpe, the critical vote of former Labour Senator Fatemou Payman remained uncertain. Payman had reportedly been lobbied by Tanya Constable, head of the Minerals Council of Australia, a day before the deal's collapse. Sources close to Payman revealed that the government realised it lacked the numbers to proceed with the bill. Environment Minister Plibersek expressed frustration over the stalled reforms, emphasising their importance to Labour's environmental agenda. She assured the public that the bill would be revisited when Parliament reconvenes in February after the summer recess. The Greens, meanwhile, have vowed to continue their fight for robust environmental laws, framing the next federal election as a referendum on Mother Nature. Hanson-Young stated that the party would campaign vigorously to prioritise environmental protection, despite the recent setbacks. The fallout from the failed negotiations has drawn varied reactions. At a recent Chamber of Minerals and Energy event in Perth, miners reportedly applauded upon learning of the deal's collapse. This reaction underscores the strong industry opposition to the proposed environmental reforms. However, Labour insiders admit the EPA proposal faces challenges in WA, where resource industry interests wield significant influence. While Albanese remains firm that the lack of Senate support was the primary reason for delaying the legislation, critics argue that the government prioritised political calculations over environmental commitments. In an interview on ABC's 7.30 program, Albanese stated, "We recalculated and realised we didn't have the necessary votes." Resources Minister Madeleine King, WA's sole cabinet representative, acknowledged potential political fallout in the state but reiterated that the bill's withdrawal stemmed from the inability to reach a broader agreement. She added, "It was more about the lack of consensus rather than specific electoral considerations." Thank you for tuning into Aussie Pulse. For more updates on Australian politics, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. See you in the next news update.